Have a brewery from Brooklyn that you may probably be familiar with. And I'm excited that they've now signed on with Serene, who will be distributing them, and it'll be a little easier for me to get to bringing this delicious liquid to you guys. But tonight we have with us Lindsay, who will tell us all about the brewery, and we have 7 beers to try. So buckle your seatbelts and let's get going.
Hello, everybody. So I guess I'll talk about the brewery and then we'll taste through the beers. I wasn't even sure what we had, but that'll be a fun tasting. Has anybody here been to the tap room at all? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we have an interesting history, I guess, maybe. It's not everybody's story, but we signed our lease in Gowanus in October of 2018. This is why we have our anniversary coming up in 2 weeks, actually, our anniversary party.
Whoa.
We weren't quite sure how to pick an anniversary or a birthday for our brewery because we brewed our first beer December of 2019.
Thank you.
Construction, of course, got insanely delayed. We were thinking that we would be able to open much earlier, but ultimately, the way it turned out is we were planning for an April 2020 grand.
Oh no.
It's kind of a joke right now. So we had about, at that point in time, we went ahead and started to self-distribute in January. Very hyper-local. I think St. Henry's was one of our first breweries. And obviously the pandemic started to hit, so we had about 14 beers on draft, and we had a crowler machine that we bought off KCBC, and 2 pallets of crowlers. So when they shut down New York City, the packaged beer was legal, so we pulled a big sign out in front of the brewery that said beer to go, and that was March 16th. So that's how we opened. So I'm also a mother, so you're gonna get the mom comments, but I always say it was definitely like a birth. It never goes as expected, and that is exactly how our opening was. We would have never planned in a million years, writing our business plan, risk a global pandemic. We had already hired an opening staff, and everybody was super scared. And so we were open, I think 8 hours a day, noon to 8. Every staff member just got a shift a week, and I worked 2 shifts a week, and I think my dreams had the crowler machine running in the background permanently for that first year, because that crowler machine got a lot of use. But we quickly pivoted to packaging. Canning was not in our business plan for the first year. Our plan was to do get draft out into the city, bring people into the tap room, and it's the past. We're in year 3 right now. Our anniversary is advertised as year 2 because we really don't feel like we were truly open the tap room and everything until 2021. So we picked October. I told you why. We signed our lease that month. Again, we started brewing in December. I don't want to commemorate the pandemic. Anyways, October is the month. Plus it's 3 months. You have questions?
Did you contract your cans or did you buy a canning line?
Yeah, we contract. We have a mobile canner. They do a great job for us. One of our investors offered to buy a canning line for us, and it was unpredictable the direction that cans were going to go. obviously something that's ingrained in our business right now, but we also don't have the space. I mean, a better use of our any kind of additions that we have is more bright tanks, because our bloggers are taking off like crazy. And our distributors are demanding them like crazy. So we've added 2 bright tanks in the last year, and our hope is to add 2 more, which will get us on a really a good rhythm for our ales, our farmhouse beers, and our waters. So we need money. So we're getting there. So that was our opening. Our goal in our beer making was to make a variety of styles. We were not going to be a hazy IPA brewery. That was not our business plan, like a lot of breweries might have, because hazy IPAs have their heyday. But our plan is just to execute very well-made beer in every style. So far,
they put plastic on everything.
Getting good reviews, we have a great reputation. You kind of have to let the market dictate things they like, and we've, wild mixed firm is always going to be a part of our portfolio. So to break out of the doors and all of a sudden become like an Allagash or an Oxford, it's like, you have to build that. I mean, we still have Jews and barrels right now because that takes years, but our lagers have really taken off, and we're couldn't be more pleased to see that, along with our English ales and our low ABV beers. So that's really where our time is invested right now, and we make a great hazy IPA, but we're happy that does not have to pay our bills. No offense to the hazy IPA drinkers, but so I don't know.
Where does the name come from?
That's a funny story. So it was like sitting in a group around a table drinking beer, and everybody just writing names, like lists, and just like going through the list. And Wild East was Tyler's idea. So we're 3 owners: Brett, Tyler, and myself. And it was just like kind of glossed over for so long, and then it was like we went back to it. We're like, this is a no-brainer because we're setting out to do wild beers. We're on the East Coast, and it kind of has dual meaning. Wild West, Wild East, uncharted territory. When we started writing this business plan, it was, and I would think it's still now, there's so much room in the New York City market for more beer and for more beer. But also the name kind of sounds like Wild Yeast.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, some people have misspelled it, like they just assume it's Wild Yeast, but yeah, but it kind of has that undertone to it.
So is the logo, is the logo a monkey riding a lion or a dude riding a lion?
It's like a cowboy riding a lion. We tried to not make it, it's like, maybe you can call it like an urban cowboy, because we don't have that big cowboy. So it's kind of, the logo is like kind of taming a feral beast, like, we're taming wild beasts kind of thing, and also the lion has a reference to Europe, like in Belgium, which we do a lot of like the Belgian lambic styles and that, and then the cowboy being more American. So
I did notice when I was there that you have I just when you had a bunch of like wooden casks for the beer.
Yeah, so we have a barrel cellar with. We're at 62 wine barrels, 16 bourbon barrels.
Oh.
I think we have 4 puncheons. So 2 9-barrel fooders, a 15-barrel fooder, 2 30-barrel fooders.
Whoa.
So yeah, we are heavy on the oak. And all those, what you saw probably, that was our barrel cellar. that's where we have a lot of our wild beers. And with the exception of the stout that's in whiskey barrels, or bourbon barrels.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I've been there, I think like 2 or 3 times inside. Because the first time I ever went there, it was kind of like everybody was just starting to be allowed back inside the place.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, the lines, like the wait to have a table outside was only about 20 minutes. But it was a very hot day, and we wanted to sit in the shade inside, and that was about an hour wait. So we were just, okay, we'll just get some beer and go home. And we had really good, we were very happy with what we got. I really like that place, because it's really crazy how where you are in Gowanus, there's Threes, Strong Rope, Finback, Brooklyn, and you guys.
Yeah.
All within walking distance.
Oh yeah, it's great.
You could have
That 4-block radius, it's awesome.
You could have a total bacchanal, like just by the time you make it to the last one, you don't remember how you got there.
Yeah. I have no idea. Oh, are you passing around the samples right now? Okay, I wasn't sure.
So we have the first one.
Okay. Question?
Oh, sorry. You're making lagers and you're making beers with wild yeast in the same building?
We are.
Any cleanliness concerns or like cross-contamination concerns?
You gotta know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, most of a brewer's job is clean. And yeah, there's a lot of people won't work with wild yeast because of the possibility of contamination. I think it's just you need to know how to work with it. You need to have your cleaning processes buttoned up. And bread, we have not had I ironically, so my previous career was in sales. So I was in sales for the most part. I worked in a lab for 5 years. But my most recent job. Is this still working? My most recent job was I was like in consultative sales for sterile and industrial manufacturing.
Ooh.
But the core of my clients were pharmaceutical companies that had been shut down due to contamination events.
Oh.
So I kind of helped be a non-FDA person that would help kind of audit their facility and let them know where they had
Yes.
they were at risk for contamination.
I think the gentleman said it's Randall or Randall. Yes.
Processes.
That was everything was great.
Things I also sell, which is learned a lot about generics in that job. But,
So this one's called what?
Ramble.
Ramble. Oh,
like,
ramble.
Like rambling or like, So,
Oh, ramble.
but yeah, we keep our brewery very clean. And we do kind of have what we call clean and wild side. We have some separation, but it is also just, you just gotta be super buttoned up.
You have fermenters that are just for wild stuff generally? Okay.
Yeah, there's some fermenters that don't see that.
I know Flagship is experimenting with a new strain of yeast that creates lactic acid as a byproduct of fermentation, but it's not wild yeast.
Yeah, that's becoming pretty common for a lot of sours these days.
I've been hearing the word wild. I've been hearing wild yeast a lot, and I really want to know, like, is it wild in the sense that it's just a very uncommon yeast, or is it kind of like found in a very odd place? Like, where's it origin from? What makes it wild?
I mean, like, I guess the reference to wild is, a lot of people refer to wild yeast as Brettanomyces, which there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different strains out there in nature. Now, you can obtain Brett yeast, people call it Brett, in many ways. I mean, a lot of labs have certain mixed cultures of Brett. You can also forage it out in nature.
I was wondering if that was what it was. Like, you could go out and find it.
You can make just a basic batch of wort and go set it outside for a while and just let it, whatever gets in there, grow, and you're gonna catch some yeast in there. A lot of, like, if you go out and you get like fruit skins, like that kind of white dusty stuff on them, like grapes. Yeah, like that's a lot of what that is. You can
that's
swab that
interesting.
and throw it in a jar of worts, or if you have like, you know, petri dishes with agar, you can grow it, plate it, and that's how some people get, you know, they kind of create their own.
I mean, the weirdest one I ever heard of was a yeast from a dude's beard. I forget who made it, but it was called the beard beer, and I was like,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere.
Road.
I don't remember. It was supposedly yeast that was from a beard.
The brewer's beard, yeah.
And I was like, that just sounds absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, talk about these things about microbiome and a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I guess everybody's tasting Ramble right now. So this is our Hellas lager.
Ah, that's what
This is our third batch of Hellas. A lot of our first batches, I'd have to say, well, they all came out
Well,
very
I'll
good.
have this, and then
You know,
then when we're
every
done,
new
when
brewery
it's
is
done,
gonna
we'll
have
just
a
pick the one we
process,
like and we'll have that.
all that kind of stuff. We had some issues with fermentation. I think we had some temperature things, like just purely due to like temperatures outside affecting our glycol. It was good. We called it Wither. Some of you, if you've been following us for a while, we had Wither, was our Hellas. The second batch, the yeast we wanted wasn't available. We were like, fine, we'll do something similar, and like yeast just didn't block out very well. So the second batch was good, but not what we wanted. This batch was our third batch. I also didn't like the name Wither, so I was like, we need to rename it. So we renamed it Ramble, and this beer, if you talk to like me, Brett, and Tyler, is hands down our favorite summer beer. It just came out really good. So yeah, and we sold out of it. So I was really happy to see that. Because that was the first beer that I drank when I did it. So yeah, what's next on the list? Dempsey. Oh. So next is going to be a can pour of our wit beers. So, you know, Allagash White, all that kind of stuff. People know what their wit beer is. This is, I think, one of our first wit beers that we've done. But it's a great summer seller. It's what's more exciting about this beer is if you see the cans, we have Max and Dempsey. So we have a year-long partnership with North Shore Animal League, and we release a new beer each quarter. And the labels are real, actual adopted animals. And the names of the beer are the name of the animals on the can. So it is the same beer inside of the can, but a portion of the proceeds do go back to North Shore. And this is our third beer that we've released, so we'll have one more
Dempsey
beer.
the cat.
Yes. Yeah, he looks kind of like a grumpy cat. They usually do tell us when they're adopted, when these specific animals are adopted.
Dempsey?
So it is fun. So that's a fun little.
So is the name of that beer Dempsey, or is that just the cat's name?
The name of the beer is Max and Dempsey.
Max
Oh,
and Dempsey.
Max and Dempsey?
Yeah, that's what we call it. Well, you'll see it on menus, but yeah, we have one can that's Dempsey, was the name of the cat, and we call it the name of the beer. And the other can is Max, is the dog. Yeah.
How many animals do you put on the labels? That's quite good.
All labels is just one animal.
Oh, just one.
One animal face, yeah.
Huh?
Yep.
Oh, I like to see it.
So, yeah, we've done adoption events with them at the brewery. It's been a lot of fun. We're big animal lovers.
That one has a really nice finish.
Oh, that was great.
Or they're the same.
I like the puppy.
Max, he's a good boy.
Aw, he's a
So something that we started doing on our cans, and not all cans have it, and not all will have it for reasons of our federal government, but we've added little stripes of additional information on the beer. And I'll fully admit, I haven't read the ones on Pepsi yet, but Patience and Fortitude has it. Some of them have just witty little sayings or a little fun fact about the beer, but it is kind of like, it's not overly obvious, but a nice little Easter egg on our cans that we have this little extra set of copies. Oh yeah, I think the copy on this was actually from the animal, so a little bit about their animals. But
So what, once again, what was Dempsey and Max's, what type of beer?
a wit beer.
A wit beer. Very nice. It has a very interesting finish.
Get like a little, like some slight citrus notes on it.
Yeah.
I'll be fully honest, wit beer is not my favorite style of beer.
It's not mine either. It's interesting.
And this is probably why I'm less inspired to talk about it. I'm like, it's a wit beer. I'd rather talk about the animals on the can. But it's crazy. It sells like crazy in the summertime.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in and just they want to have a wit beer.
I guess the lines for it are rough.
What?
I said the lines for the beer in the summer are rough. It's the dogs on the road.
Oh, rough. I know. I was like,
yes. I feel bad. It just went.
Explain it.
Oh, that landed so badly.
Were you a brewer? How'd you get into it?
yeah. So I, as I mentioned, was a lab geek. I dabbled in home brewing, I would say. I was not like a super competitive person, but I thought it was cool to have my own beer on draft at my house. So I'd make beer every now and then to have in my refrigerator.
I actually want to learn I'm actually trying to learn how to make beer.
Okay, yeah, it's a fun process. There's so much to learn about it. I even owning a brewery right now,
I have to say the funniest thing I learned about was learning about when they clean the tanks. That the funny part was it wasn't like bold lettering, but it should have been. It said, hey, whatever you're doing, if you're cleaning something, don't put caustic chemicals in a CO2 rich environment. You'll implode the tank. And I'm like, oh, okay.
a lot of
That should be.
chemistry.
Yeah,
a lot of chemistry.
It's like, I think that should be like, there should be bold letters saying, don't do this.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to create a hazardous environment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, also if it's like really hot in there and you throw in cold water, it'll do the same thing too. I mean, I saw that one happen on Mythbusters where they put like, they were able to crush a rail car, like the ones that would hold oil or chemicals. They had to modify it, but it is possible that like if you got it really hot and then you put the cold stuff in, it would just implode on itself.
So what's this one?
So how'd you meet Tyler and Brett? Luminaries thing, or?
No, I had started to write a business plan with a friend of mine. And so I had started kind of like the whole
Weird.
process with somebody else. And so I'm from Colorado originally.
Oh.
She was also from Colorado. We were both out here. And she had a few very tragedies happen in her family where she ended up being very quickly and unexpectedly the sole inheritor of 4,000 acres of farmland. Serious farming, and she had to move back. She said, I still want to do this with you, and I'm like, you have to learn how to farm.
Yes.
And she's done so well, but at that point, I didn't have any other friends or anybody that wanted to start a brewery, but I had done so much into it, I had money to go into it, I had a lot of stuff. So I was just looking for the right people or person to go on the venture together. So I found them through the brewing community, and I went to them. I had seen they were starting to start the brewery, or trying to start the brewery, and I told them I don't want to invest, I want to actually be in it with them, be an owner. And so I shared what I had for a business plan, they shared what they had done for a business plan, and a lot of things I had done, they didn't have in their business plan. So it was like the missing puzzle piece when I came in. We all have such diverse skill sets. I just brought in a background that neither of them has, a sales background. I have my master's in business. I've always wanted to start my own business. And I brought a lot of like financial, you're not going to be able to sell investors unless you have your finances buttoned up, so that's a lot of what I contributed to our business. So, and then I'm a lab nerd, so this is why our brewery has a legit lab, I do exactly, given we don't have a lot of money to make all the fancy things, but we do have a lab, and I do oversee the few things that we do in the lab right now. Hopefully we'll expand that lab someday, but...
Cool. So for like this lab, is it like one of those labs where you have to like put on the fancy suits and get all clean and stuff?
No, it's not a sterile lab, luckily. But I do have rules for certain things I can and can't enter there. So. Yeah.
Okay, because I do remember you say it's like, oh yeah, I had done stuff for like sterile laboratories, and some of the places got closed down because some of the places had to close because of contamination. And I'm like, that's, out of all the things you don't want to have happen, is like a sterile lab have a contamination.
Oh, trust me, I've seen it happen in many places. Yes, levity. So this is levity.
Levity.
And I apologize, some of these beers I wasn't checked out of the brewery, but I wasn't present for. So this is a collaboration with a brewery called Sojourn down in Virginia. They're really wonderful people down there. They're doing some cool things, but they're just getting started. And they wanted to do a rice lager. So we had never done a rice lager before. This was one of our first. Is our first rice lager to do. So, so yeah, it's not, so again, somebody asked me if this is gluten-free. No, it's not gluten-free. There's still a fair amount of Pilsner maltiness. But also, a big part of it is rice. All of our lagers are decocted. All of our Czech lagers are double decocted. We actually have our anniversary beer is our Czech style Pilsner, but we did a triple decoction on it.
Ooh.
So
what is a decoction?
So decoction mash is it is a very traditional method of brewing lagers, and in Germany and the Czech Republic was legally required in order for your lager to be considered official.
The Reinheitsgebot, the Reinheitsgebot, the only 4 ingredients.
Well, there's that in Germany. Yeah, this was a little bit separate. So
oh, okay.
This was
I was wondering if it was that.
That's ingredients. So a decoction mash is essentially where you have your mash tun, you have your kettle. And you transfer your wort over to your kettle, but what you do is you transfer it back into the mash, transfer it back, and back. So you have this back and forth, movement of the wort going back to the mash and then back to the kettle. What that does is that causes some temperature changes from when it's boiled and going back to the mash. It also brings out more of the protein from the mash. So that's where with our lagers, we had to custom build our system in order to do proper decoction. With a lot of breweries that are trying to catch up with the trend right now, their systems aren't even built to enable that reverse plumbing. Because usually mash tun goes into the kettle, from the kettle, knock out to your fermenter. So there's this pass back and forth to your mash tun for decoction. In summary, all of our lagers are decocted.
That's very cool.
So that is something that it takes a lot of extra time. We also properly lager our lagers, ferment them in the conical, pass them over to the bright. Sometimes they get transferred to a second bright to get that proper lagering time. So that you get your amazing clarity and taste that you get in our lagers. So that's something that we take a lot of pride in with our lagers. It does take a lot of time, and we actually brewed patient-supported food today, our Czech-style Pilsner. It's a long brew day, and then it's a long time sitting in your tanks, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. So.
Well, I mean, good beer takes time.
Yep.
Who's your master brewer?
So our head brewer is Brett, my business partner. So we luckily did not have to hire a brewer to do our brewing, and that's one thing that, well, one of many things that I think make us a really solid brewery is that an owner oversees all of our brewing operations. So we are not at risk of a brewer quitting to move on, or that. Which, whenever you switch a brewer, you're always you will put yourself at risk of variables in your beer.
I've seen that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is one, knock on wood, unless he gets hit by a bus, but he is a consistent factor, and he truly technically trained, but also.
Does he come from a scientific background? Because there seems to be a lot of science behind wild yeast.
There is a lot of science. I mean, brewing is.
It is.
Extremely scientific. He was very much self-taught. I mean, I say he has a technical training, but he's also. It is like an art with him. He just has that talent. We call him the yeast whisperer. He's just so. He's really, truly incredible. And we have one of our bartenders, she started pre-COVID, again, one of the original people, said she was interested in brewing, and she has a passion for beer. And he's just trained her from the ground up, and she's now brewing batches by herself and doing an incredible job. So it's we need somebody at least.
Any effects on her batches by any chance?
Actually, temperance, which I think is that what they're doing right now? This is so temperance. So this is a dark mild. So yes. So Brett, owner, brewer, yes, and he did. I think he had brewed about 200 batches of homebrew, entered competitions, did really well, but then decided to quit his job at the Wall Street Journal and go to brewing school, did apprenticeships, worked at a few breweries, and also worked at a brewery with the system that we have, so he knew all the quirks about it. So yeah, when we do have an assistant brewer that he's trained, she's awesome.
His protege.
Huh?
His protege.
Yeah. She brewed this batch of Temperance. Temperance was our second beer we ever brewed. It was definitely not a beer that any brewery would probably come out of the gates with. It's a dark mild. But we thought it would be pretty cool to have a low ABV English style beer. And next thing you know, we were featured in the New York Times for it. And that was really cool. But I don't know, in my opinion, COVID brought on this trend of people steering towards the it still has.
I can see why.
Yeah.
If you got to do that 8 p.m. Zoom call and you're just knock them back just to get enough.
We just had 5 Boroughs here on Monday, and their anniversary beer, Soul Pepper 3.2 IPA.
Yeah.
3.2.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, it's people are working from home, day drinking more, especially during lockdown.
Yeah.
But they have their kids, and they have to work. And they're because pre-COVID, I mean, the big trend was all of these crazy imperial IHOP, IPAs.
Triple IPA.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just well, you can't do that at home. So
Now that you have to get up the next morning.
So the only thing, sorry, my husband's out of town and I got a few keys from the babysitter, so I just came to check on this. Oh, both my kids are sleeping. Okay. That's wonderful.
That's wonderful news.
Fantastic news.
Well, as long as it's like,
I have a 4.5 and a 1.5.
Aw.
Yeah. So you're drinking temperance. That's kind of the story behind it. I think when some people see low ABV, they think there's going to be flavor, you're going to lose a lot, but that's something. This beer still has a lot to give, and we only briefly this year we were without it on draft, but it's a beer that we have consistently year-round. It's been a lot of people switch to beer at brewery. You don't see it everywhere, so it's kind of one of those unique things. It will be ready on nitro at our brewery next week. So it's really good on nitro. So. Other questions?
I have to say, with how you're describing like all the stuff that Wild East does, are you familiar with Two Roads?
Yes, actually, my husband's really good friends with one of the founders there.
Oh, cool. 'Cause I was just going to say, I've only been to it once, but I really want to go back there. But the main issue is they don't allow minors on the grounds at all. And it's a bummer, but it does make things kind of easier at times. But there's the main brewery building, and I forget what they call, I think it's called Area 2B or something like that. They have their experimental place like a city block away, and their experimental stuff is really out there. It's just, and I feel like you're kind of like, for me, with how you're describing it with the beers and stuff, I feel like you're like the New York version of that.
Yeah, they're also doing, they have a cool shift there. They're doing some spontaneous fermentation, which is kind of hard for us to do in New York. But yeah, they're doing a lot of really cool things. They're fantastic.
When I was there, the one thing they were talking about was that they had like this, when I was there, this is way before COVID, they had this very interesting setup where like there was like a slanted thing, and there was sunlight coming in and landing sunlight was touching this stuff and was making science happen, and I just know sunlight was involved. I'm like, that's very interesting, but I don't remember what it was. I just knew sunlight was involved.
All right, so I think everybody's getting a pour of the Royal We. Yes. So if you see the cans of this, all right. So long story. So this is, and not to call it, it is a German style pilsner, not Czech.
I just clicked on it. Somebody else did.
So. I know where that might have come from. So this is a collaboration with Alternate Endings, who's in New Jersey. They are making some incredible beer. Like, they have their system set up for decoction mash. They know their stuff. Like, they're just awesome people. We did a collaboration at their brewery. We call it, so what they did, or how we did the collaborations, they brewed our recipe of Little Patience. So Little Patience is our smaller version of Patience and Fortitude, our Czech style pilsner, but 10 Plato, so it's 3.8% ABV. They took our recipe of Little Patience and dry hop. So that was our collab there. They called that A Beer Grows in Brooklyn. Very good. I think they have it on tap there still. And they came over to Brooklyn, and we did their flagship pilsner, which is a German pilsner, their recipe, dry hopped, at our brewery. And what's funny is in like some of our emails and some things, I know my sales rep will refer to Wild East as just like capital W, capital E. And Alternate Endings, beer name theme is like movies or movie references. So their flagship pilsner is the Royal Rub. So we called it the Royal We, kind of referring to Wild East. But The label is the dude from The Big Lebowski. Sweater pattern.
Cute.
So there's references to The Big Lebowski. So that's all about this.
I like that concept because it's like, oh god, like film buffs love to talk about like, did you know that there was an alternate ending to like this movie you love? Where it totally changed everything.
Question.
Yeah. So this is their recipe. This is their flagship here. If you taste them side by side, how do they taste?
They'll be a little different.
Okay.
So we did take in the yeast that they use. And again, we have a different system. We dry hopped it differently. So that was the difference for each beer, is that our little patient's recipe was dry hopped differently.
Same
So
hops though?
slightly different from what I remember. Yes. And I can't, huh?
Noble hops or like German hops?
Yes, all noble hops, yeah. So, but yes, so that was kind of the fun thing. We hadn't really done a collaboration like that before, but I thought it was a really fun concept. So, and they're just, so I live in New Jersey actually, and I have to say, the craft beer scene really, it is getting better. There are some incredible breweries, but there's not a lot of incredible breweries like in New York City, and Alternate Endings is one of those that is just, I can go there and drink every single beer on their list, and it is on point. Like
And the pizza.
oh, their pizza is so good. Yeah, their pizza, their food is so good. So yeah, no, they do everything really well. So.
I have a question. When adding the yeast to the beer, how is it added? Like, is it like you scoop out like the stuff and you pour it in, or is it like a pellet?
There's two different ways you can get your yeast. You can get your yeast dry, where you then, you essentially prepare your yeast culture with dry yeast, which involves cropping and everything. We don't do that. We keep our house yeast and like white yeast for our culture. So your first pitch, ours come in like a jug, and you'll after you brew your beer, you put it into the kettle, you do your boil, then you knock it out. And, when you knock out, for us, it goes through a big cooling system. You're knocking out around 75 degrees, depending on what beer you're drinking. And then you put the yeast into the fermenter. So, and there is a very, depending on how, like what Play-Doh your beer is, like how much sugar your beer has, you pitch a certain amount of yeast into that beer because you want the amount of yeast cells to match the amount of sugar that's in your beer, so you don't overpitch or underpitch. And then from there, you harvest your yeast from the bottom of the fermenter, which is our yeast drink. And we're turning over our yeast. Some of it will use 10 or more generations.
Wow.
That's one thing I do in the lab, is I look at our yeast throughout the generations to see, look at our viability, how it's doing, and then at some point in time you just have to get rid of it because it gets cooler. But yeah, you can keep reusing your yeast. Like our ale yeast we use a lot, we reuse a lot of ales, and then our lager yeast we reuse a lot through our lagers.
Because I always find the yeast like the most interesting part, because it's like, it's what jump starts, the alcohol brewing process, the alcohol process. And because I've never baked bread, so I've never like actually used yeast in my personal experiences. But I've always wondered, just like, when you're using the yeast, do you have to wear like a mouth protector or something like that? It's not like if you accidentally breathe it in, it's gonna be like.
No, yeast is a very common element in nature, so it's not really going to hurt you.
Yeah, so it's not Castidiotropiasis.
So I think everybody has Punk Lullaby, which was a beer I used inadvertently at Tyler's baby shower. We And apparently his wife never knew this. I was like, how do I know this? And I don't remember. And I think, I don't know, through whatever conversation was happening, it was with babies and stuff, I was like, ooh, Tyler's gonna have to do lullabies. So this sat on the list for beer names for, gosh, Nora's like 18 months now, so yeah. Almost 2 years we finally used it.
So what is?
So this is a West Coast IPA. West Coast IPAs, you're gonna notice they're actually clear versus like the East Coast, which are hazy. West Coast IPAs are hopped differently. And with a lot of people getting into beer on the East Coast in the last 5 years, a lot of what people knew was East Coast IPAs. And that's what some people relate to, like how hoppy is the beer. Do we need to break for a minute?
No, this is yes.
Oh,
It's a great game.
but West Coast IPAs are very hoppy in
Not
that.
tonight, it's last night. That's
Alright. West Coast, they're very hoppy, but they're very bitter on the hops. Versus like your New England IPAs, which are a little bit more juicier, sweeter. It's just a different hop use, a different way in which you hop the beer. This one, again, my favorite was our last batch on the generator. We did put mosaic in this, which did add a little bit of like melony sweetness to it, which is nice. But the typical West Coast IPA is extremely hoppy, but just very, very day one bitter. So
You know what the other
I believe it was.
Warrior?
I was in Buffalo last week and I was with Pressure Drop, and so he was a brewer at me. He's just my favorite. So we were doing side by side. I mean, Carl's. I was just looking at the recipes, but I was looking at the recipes of like 3 of our customers, and now I'm like, questioning. I could look at nice day. I know mosaic is one. Yeah. Well, either way. I should know this. In my defense, I am not a brewer. He could rip off whatever. But yeah. So we
It's good. It reminds me of like green flag.
well, yes. So this was what? So mono generator. Not to talk down on people. It's really good. When we put that on tap the first time, we're like, just dang. Green flag, Ballast Point, lagers, just super dang bitter.
Now you don't think so much. So it's like novel. Wow.
This is the Flanders red, aka the sour.
And it's sour reason because we were like,
No, not sour
for
IPA.
years out there.
Sour ale.
To the West Coast.
Not IPA.
We have sour IPAs.
I do have sour IPAs. Oh, yeah. You go to the whole fucking brewery.
So we just like to make West Coast beer, West Coast IPAs. And because it's their, I don't know, Kevin, if you're seeing this, but West Coast are something that this is the sour. It is very
counterbalance
sour.
like
It tastes better than the sour.
adjunctification. If you lose too much of everything in beer in the right way. I think you see that with the lower ABVs. I think you see that stylistically too. And I think people are moving away from sweeter beers in general, whether it be smoothie sours or chocolatey pastry sours, double IPAs with just looking for something to be the counterplay to that.
Opposite of silver.
No, they make the best beer on Staten Island. Come on.
So I think we have, what did that say? Was it Citizen Rouge?
Yep, so now we're on the last beer. This is last beer.
So we had a lot of people that were trying to Irish red, like Philly. Tasting this, I think it's something wrong here.
So funny because Brett and I were having this conversation.
I think it was Mike. I think Mike was on something. Definitely not. It doesn't taste like gas
Okay.
We're on the last beer.
Last one.
So Sinister Rouge. This is one beer where the name we actually brought over from one of Brett's homes. And this was like a consistent, like award-winning homebrew that he did. But this is where you get into kind of the more sexy things that we do with wild yeast. This is a Flanders red, so it's a Belgian. It's a Belgian mixed from beer. Our yeast strain for this comes from East Coast yeast, so this is not one of our house cultures that we use. Our house cultures are primarily, so we have one that we use for our lambics, and then we have our saison, which are then kind of developed in-house. So it is an East Coast yeast strain, and this took a long time to make. So the Flanders red do need to sit in wine barrels. So this was in wine barrels for 21 months, and then in bottle conditioned for 3 months. So with the Flanders red, this is going to be a very sour, tart type of beer. And so it's something that you want to sip on.
The red.
It is like a red beer, but like you were saying, it's not going to be like a red ale. Yes.
No, it's the thing. We know that we both had issues with this beer because, not issues like I love this beer, but because I keep getting like people that are like, oh, red, and I'm like, you know what a Flanders is, and they lie because they like want to. I'm like, okay, so you know what you're getting into, and then they get it, and they're like, there's something wrong, and I'm like, no, it's not Irish red. So now if someone orders it, I told all the staff to go like, please give them a taste.
Yes.
They most likely don't know what it is in the summer style.
Yeah.
Like Monk's Cafe in Philly.
I was just
like
there on Monday.
Yeah, that's like their thing, but it's such a distinct style. Like I love it. I love it. But I can see that people can be like, nope.
Yeah.
You're not expecting it.
Maybe a shitty question. Was this a planned beer or was this a COVID beer that?
Always planned.
Really?
So we did, and I mean, COVID kind of saved us.
That's a reasonable question.
That's a reasonable question.
Yeah, no, we always planned.
An accidental Flanders.
Oh, look at accidental. Oh yeah, no, there were definitely some. COVID actually didn't help our business finances by any means, but in terms of allowing us the time to brew a lot of lambic and like our Flanders red, things like this that, you know, our goal is to also have goose. I mean, for goose, you have to mix 3 years of lambic.
Too sour.
In barrels. So it's a lot of lambic. We're still working on it. But this allowed us to brew a lot of lambic because our beer was moving slow, but then this is beer that takes time. I mean, Brett, we all kind of like to describe our brewery, our beer, our approach to brewing is low and slow. Like low temperatures, slow, you know, it takes a long time to make them. A lot of breweries that are coming out there, they want to turn beer around in 14 days max, be on to the next one. Why you look at kettle sours, ales.
I think I'll go with the IPA.
But we were always committed to putting the time into the beers that we made.
Planning more expansion, so like, there's been quicker lagering methods that people have been doing now, right? And like, I'm not saying that you're going to do that, but if you're moving them out at a certain speed, but you start selling more than you're making, are you planning on expanding, or are you planning on changing a process?
We'll add more bright tanks.
Okay. you have any horizontal lagering tanks?
That is also in the plan. I mean, I went over our wish list with Brett last night and how that would look like in our space. Yes. The next plan for helping with our beer output, because we will never contract through. As I've told you, like I explained how Brett, my business partner, he is an owner.
And I don't know how you could, not that you could contract through this, but I wouldn't trust him else.
No, absolutely, yeah. And even with loggers, you know, that's, so it's, we'll add 2 more dry tanks. That would be the next stage. That will get us going at a really good rhythm to meet our distributors' demands, which is very important. And get our ales on track, get our farmhouse. Our farmhouse is kind of taken a sidestep right now. We still brew it, just not as often. After those 2 new bright tanks, that will hopefully come at some point. Then we'll want to add 2 horizontals.
And your chiller capacity, you'll have to stay in,
Yeah,
you're good.
yeah, we're good there. Yeah. It struggled during that week of 100+ degrees.
Oh my God.
We had to dump a batch of beer.
No.
I can't imagine a brewery that didn't struggle. I think a lot of our breweries struggled.
They did. Oh yeah. Yeah, we happened to knock out Moon Atlas, our Czech style amber lager, at an unfavorable temperature, and it took on acetaldehyde, and we just, that's a non-flavor you just can't fix. So it was a lot of tears that day. It was one of my favorite lagers that we've made. Down the drain.
So are you talking about going down the drain into the Hudson, or you just like have to like?
Oh no, it goes by that forever. Like,
No. I mean like when it dumps, we're just dumping it and it's going through the sewers into the Hudson, and it's going to be a whole bunch of happy fish, or like.
I don't know where it goes actually, but I know it goes into the sewer drain. Yes.
No, because that was the one thing. Like I don't know. There was the one story because we were at Flagship and they were talking about doing the lager. These monks, they were brewing the beer, and if it didn't work out, they would just dump it into the river, and then all of a sudden, all the fish kind of like turning up like.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. Yeah, we don't just carelessly dump beer.
No, I'm not saying you killed any fish, but I said there might be some happy ones like,
Yeah. I hope it made somebody happy. Didn't make me very happy. Having
oh no.
Write it off on taxes is a
God
loss.
Because you got to figure in all the time and effort and all the stuff that went into it. It's like,
So what's next? What's we looking for? Is there like some new cool beers coming out that you're excited about that aren't available yet?
Yes, there's one. So I love our lagers. I'm a lager nerd, and Creek, like in terms of lambic and Belgian beers, I love really good Creek, which we have one right now. It's our 2021 Creek was incredible. Our 2022 Creek had to get dumped. It turned vinegar. I don't know what happens, but that's what happens. What happens when you work with wild yeast. It was unfortunate, but sadly, we got a new batch of New York State cherries. So our Creek and all of our farmhouse beers are all 100% New York State ingredients. Even our Creek, and some people will even argue whether you should call it a lambic. Let's not get into that right now. But the Creek is also even New York State cherries. So we still have bottles of it. It is incredible. But I do love lagers, and our anniversary is coming up. We did Patience and Fortitude is one of our flagship Czech style lagers. That's a beer we'll have year round now. We brewed Patience and Gratitude, and it is a triple decocted Czech style lager. Which for me, that means you're just gonna get a lot more body, a lot more depth to it. I'm excited about it. I was tasting it out of the tin. It's mighty good. So, yes. I am excited about that. And we packaged, not even labeled yet, more of our Peschel set, which was a a gold medal winner last year.
Ooh.
So that is, more of that will be coming out in the market.
Nice.
That won the New York State competition last year.
Yeah.
That got gold, and then our creek got bronze. So
Not bad. Not bad. Great.
You have the Monopoly single hop
yes,
series, right?
Samba.
We have the Samba here.
Yep, yep. We're almost sold out of that actually.
You know what's next?
For hazy IPA.
No, are you doing another single?
Oh, another single hop. So our next hazy IPA is not. You have a can of that. Not yet. But the name's funny. Old MTV. We will do a single hop, but it's not.
Oh, so it's not a single
Yeah, we do Monopoly, but it's it'll probably be in another few IPAs that we'll figure out what.
Nice.
If anybody wants to try the Monopoly single hop Samba IPA, we have it at the bar. It's not on the tasting site. Monopoly?
Samba. Yeah. So the labels are actually the colors, and the scheme is actually taken after Monopoly Money.
Oh, thank you.
So you can match up Monopoly Money with the names, because I think this is our third or fourth Monopoly that's been out, and it's all the colors of the Monopoly. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, what else? Yeah? Oh. Your recap? I'm loving mine.
Oh.
Your recap. This is bad. This is crazy. But that one was we actually got one of those here. So it's actually figure out. Yeah. So I think we're wrapping up our tasting. Yeah, I mean, come to our brewery. I'm gonna try to be there more. I traveled like crazy. I do a lot. I mean, we all, as owners, wear so many hats, but I was so heavy on the travel since last March, trying to grow our brand outside of New York City. I was going up to Buffalo, was a big market we wanted to grow in, up to Hudson Valley. Oh yeah, no, I quit my job in 2015. Yeah, 2016, sorry. So I had been working festivals, delivering beer up the Hudson Valley, and thank God for Serene, they're allowing me more time at home to see my kiddos and be at my brewery, which is also good to connect with the staff. I bartended tonight, which is actually a good thing. So, yes, you will see me there. I'm the only one of 3 owners that actually bartended in college. I bartended. It was one of my 3 jobs that put me through college. So. Huh? Maria moved to Louisiana. I know. Yes. Oh, she's so happy down there, though. I mean, we haven't seen her. Yeah, I've only lost almost 2 people now. I've never had anybody quit me for like a bad 2 months. Yeah, and I still have like the original staff that was hired pre-COVID, which makes me proud. I try to be a good brewery. So our employees do come first, and we try to do our best to make sure everybody is treated well and that our environment is a safe place. Huh? Oh, Holly, she's awesome. Yeah. She's also our sales. I mean, so many, like our original like have grown into bigger roles at the brewery, which is awesome. It's exactly what I wanted to see happen. So yeah. Yeah. Come by, visit us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We had many different styles of beer tonight, and I think that's great. That's what, everybody likes something else. That's what makes the beer world go around. Thank you all for coming tonight. Next month, I think. Next month we have Evergreen, which I had announced once before, but we're really having them next month, from Pennsylvania. Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. Evergreen did have some good stuff out.
Yeah, Evergreen was the one that was supposed to come, and I think their brewer left.
Many of us have really tried. It's kind of on the DL, I guess, but it shouldn't be, and it won't be. And we'll have some great beers from them. And until then, go around to your local places and ask for Wild East, and tell them that Serene now distributes it, and they can get it here, right here on Staten Island. Even on Staten Island, you can get Wild East. Fucking amazing. And thanks to Lindsay and Kevin for making it happen, and all of you, because otherwise we'd be standing here talking to ourselves. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you next month. Peace.